Good day, guys, and welcome back. One of the most topical issues being discussed in the media space now has to do with a press release by Honorable Sam George and the Communications Ministry purporting to close down the offices of MultiChoice Ghana, the operators of DSTv, if they fail to, comply with certain conditions. I just want to give a short background to the story so you can understand it better. Ghana's Ministry of Communications, Digital Technology and Innovation has issued a very strong warning to MultiChoice Ghana to lower its DSTv subscription prices by 30% by 7th August. And if this is not done by the set date, then MultiChoice Ghana stand the risk of losing their broadcasting license in the country. But the question I ask myself, or I keep asking myself, is that is this the right move or the right approach by Honorable Sam George and the Ministry of Communications? And more importantly, does the ministries or the ministry even have the legal basis for this move? I would want us to break this down further, but I'll first of all plead with you to, assist this family by sharing with your friends and families as well because this discussion is very very necessary at this stage. Now, the ministry's directive implies a punitive action if DSTV fails to reduce prices by the said deadline. What reasons have the minister, Honorable Sam George, given to back these actions he's seeking to take against MultiChoice Ghana? Now, the minister even went to the extent of saying that MultiChoice has been engaging in or is engaging in plain stealing against the good people of Ghana. I want to first explore some of these reasons um, the Honorable has given to back these actions that he intends to take. First of all, he highlighted that MultiChoice rejected a formal request by the ministry to cut down prices of their subscriptions, which I have said already in the introduction. He also indicated that MultiChoice, in their 9-page response to the ministry's official price reduction request, added that the city's recovery against major, trading currencies was just a fluke, which he sees as unacceptable and may have, fueled this anger in the press release that he made. I can also say that if indeed MultiChoice Ghana wrote this in their response, then that is really unacceptable. However, if Honorable Sam George deduced this from his own interpretation of MultiChoice's response, then one could also argue that Sam George could have, sought for further and better particulars, like they always say. Honorable Sam George further continues to, argue that the same content in the premium bouquet that is offered to Ghanaians for 83 United States dollars is offered to Nigerians for $29 and considers the price disparity as unacceptable, considering the gains the city have made in the first half of 2025. He further argues that multi-choice in the past years have blamed their price hikes on the depreciation of the cedi and considered it unfair to keep their prices at their current state now that the currency has regained its strength. What it means is that Honorable Sam George is making the argument that in the past, what multi-choice have been saying or the reasons they've been given for increases or the continued increase in their bouquet subscriptions is the fact that the city had been depreciating, and he expects that once the city has regained its place or has regained its value, then it is right for multi-choice to also then reduce its prices, like some of the companies that we see around, responding to the good appreciation of the local currency. Now, back to the initial question that I asked about whether the decision for Sam George to take or the decision to close down the business of multi-choice Ghana, if the directive is not taken, is it right or is the decision right, if I should say? Now, let's take it this way. Neither the ministry, represented by Honorable Sam George, nor the National Communications Authority, that is the NCA, has publicly referenced any specific law that gives them the power to, directly mandate price reductions in the current market media and broadcasting companies are currently operating in. So there hasn't been any legal basis that has been quoted by the Honorable Sam George. Neither has the NCA also done that. It is worthy of noting that unless DSTv is found to be in violation of licensing laws, competition laws, or abusing a dominant position under Ghana's competition law framework, this kind of action could face legal challenge anywhere. As it stands, neither Honorable Sam George nor the NCA has shown the public any evidence whatsoever to convince us that multi-choice has, faulted in any of these laws or regulations that I just mentioned. And to put this in a simple way, regulating prices in such a liberal market like we have in Ghana here must follow due processes, clear mandate, and economic logic, not just mere threats. Truth be told, we are all not happy with the kind of subscription fees DSTV is currently charging us in this country, but we can't just resort to mere threats in our quest to make things better. So to say, in my opinion, forcing a private company to slash prices by 30% without any structural change in the market kind of risk creating more problems than you intend to solve. You ask yourself what happens next after the by force subscription price reduction. Won't this lower service quality by MultiChoice Ghana, or won't this also lead the owners of MultiChoice Ghana to, close down their operations in the country and take back their capital? Of course, we've seen some companies in the past do this. One thing Honorable Sam George must know is that there is nothing like price control in Ghana. Rather than pushing a blunt agenda or this blunt agenda, the ministry I think should rather be asking themselves, why does multi-choice Ghana have so little competition in the country? Right now, it is worthy of noting that DSTV enjoys a near monopoly in the premium satellite TV market, not just in Ghana alone, but across most of the sub-Saharan African countries. The truth is that there are smarter and more sustainable ways to reduce prices and improve services for Ghanaians. Rather than resorting to these mere threats, this is what I think the ministry could do instead. First of all, we need to make it easier for international and local players to enter Ghana's pay TV and digital media market. As it stands now, the system is too bureaucratic with so much red tapes. Licensing processes at the NCA is just too frustrating and time wasting, with so much demands that there are so many so-called big men in the chain who are always looking to enrich themselves in the process rather than thinking about the ordinary customer. Potential competitors who will battle it out with multi-choice to beat down prices in the long term are discouraged by these things and are always driven away with their capital. This is the same situation we have with MTN in Ghana, where politicians are in bed with these companies and always make them feel comfortable. With MTN even sponsoring the NGO belonging to Honorable Sam George himself. In this situation, what at all will make the minister and NCA, forge towards bringing competition in the system? Of course, with all these self-interest or conflict of interest at play, what would even force them to put these telecommunications network and these companies like DSTV on their toes and put them to check? The second point I want to make is that Honorable Sam George could also think big by initiating some public-private partnerships to help compete with these near monopoly service providers to help drive down prices. But if a whole minister's job in Ghana here is to just write letters to private companies to demand price reduction, then of course he has no business in the ministry. I'm so sorry to say that if this is the case, then even an SHS graduate can do what Honorable Sam George is currently doing. Honorable Sam George, this is just an advice. This thing you are doing here is not what taxpayers really pay you to do at the ministry. We need you to be taking strategic measures and strategic decisions that would help drive this industry that you are serving. I ask myself what really also happened to, the Consumer Protection Agency. Like we know for PURC, it's not the energy minister's job to, negotiate prices of utilities in Ghana. Some George should take it up with President Mahama to strengthen the consumer protection laws and the Consumer Protection Agency to help fight some of these battles. This will rather enhance, transparency, price build up, and service quality. Ask yourself, why is some judge or the government focusing so much on these companies? Is some judge trying to tell me that the companies in the food production industry, other consumer products, those that provide other services to Ghanaians, including hotels, schools, hospitals, pharmacies, laboratories, etc., are all fair in their pricing? This is just a question for all of us to answer. People import medicines and lab testing kits at very cheaper prices from India and Europe and end up selling to Ghanaians at very hefty prices without questioning. In fact, if the current government wants to check pricing in this country, they should rather focus more on the pharmacies and laboratories and hospitals in general. No companies exploit the ordinary Ghanaian than these companies in the pharmaceuticals and then in the hospitals. Another thing that Honorable Sam George could also do is to also think deep to, continue the legacies of Dr. Baumia by promoting digital innovation hubs that serve as alternatives to DSTv. There are a lot of streaming apps in the Americas and in the Europes that could be replicated here in Ghana. In fact, I would say that these are some of the strategic stuffs we want our ministers to come up with and not just haggling over prices with, private companies. Now, what I ask again is that are these threats by Honorable Sam George to close down multi choice Ghana the right way to go? He shouldn't forget that multi choice has created hundreds of direct and indirect jobs in the country, from media professionals to technicians to DSTv installers, not forgetting the boys who have, created sports centers all over the country and charge 5 cedis per head for each match on each match day. Now that the start of the Premier League, La Liga, Bundesliga, and the rest of you is imminent. He shouldn't also forget that MultiChoice Ghana also sponsored the Ghana Premier League some time ago and still continue to sponsor some programs in Ghana. And all these could suffer if they are closed down for no tangible reason. Guys, to just conclude on this, I will always say that price control through force, like what Honorable Sam George is trying to do, really works. What Ghana really needs at this time is an equal level playing field where multiple service providers compete fairly to deliver better value to customers through stiff competition. Let's encourage reform, not any form of retaliation, I should say. And let's also focus on long term structural change, not just short term measures that only appeal to the masses. Guys, if you found this helpful, please don't forget to share with others as well. And let us know your view in the comments down below. To just conclude with this, I ask again, should government force price cuts or focus on creating a competitive market instead? Thanks and bye for now.